You're at a family dinner, and before anyone even asks, you're already standing up to refill the water pitcher. You noticed your mom's tight smile and your brother's empty glass 3 minutes ago. Even though you're exhausted from work, your brain is running a background scan of everyone's needs. You can't just sit. Why does relaxing feel like failing? Here's what's actually happening. You aren't just bossy or responsible by nature. You are operating out of a deeply ingrained psychological blueprint called parentification. This is when the roles between a child and a parent are blurred, and you were drafted into an unpaid management position before you even learned long division. It's a survival strategy that became your personality. You don't do these things because you want to. You do them because your nervous system thinks the world will fall apart if you stop. You aren't just the eldest. You're the emotional architect of a building you didn't ask to design. Let's look at the work of Dr. Gregory Jurkovich, who spent years studying the phenomenon of parentification. He describes how some children are forced into functional or emotional roles way beyond their years. It's like being handed the keys to a heavy-duty truck when you can barely reach the pedals. You learned to steer because you had to, but your legs have been cramping for 20 years. You become a master of logistics and emotional labor because that was the price of admission for feeling safe in your own home. Do you ever feel like you're still driving that truck even though you're miles away from that childhood house? Then we have the concept of the default mode network in your brain. Research from Harvard University suggests this is the part of your brain that's active when you're not focusing on a specific task. For the oldest daughter, this network is often hijacked by what psychologists call social monitoring. You're constantly temperature checking the room to see if anyone is upset, hungry, or bored. It's like having an invisible weather radar in your skull that only detects other people's moods. You can't turn it off, can you? It's why you can't fully enjoy a party unless you're sure everyone else is having a good time first. We also have to talk about Alfred Adler, a pioneer in individual psychology who focused heavily on birth order. Adler suggested that the firstborn experiences a unique trauma called dethronement. When a sibling arrives, you lose your status as the only center of attention, and to win back that sense of security, you become the mini-adult. You traded your playfulness for usefulness. You became the reliable one so you wouldn't be the forgotten one. Think of it as a subconscious contract you signed when you were 4 years old. You promised to be perfect if they promised to keep noticing you. Dr. Murray Bowen, the founder of family systems theory, describes a mechanism called overfunctioning. When someone else in a system, like a parent or a sibling, underfunctions, the oldest daughter instinctively steps up to fill the gap. It's like a teeter-totter where you're permanently suspended in the air because you're carrying all the weight of the family's stability. You don't know how to let your feet touch the ground because you're terrified the whole machine will crash if you do. This overfunctioning feels like strength, but it's actually a form of chronic anxiety. Are you actually capable, or are you just afraid of what happens if you're not? Finally, look at self-silencing theory, often studied by Dr. Dana Jack. You likely learned very early that your value is tied to your lack of needs. If you are the easy child who solves everyone's problems, you don't take up any extra space or cause any extra stress for your parents. Being competent became your suit of armor. It protects you from being a burden, but armor is heavy and it doesn't allow for much tenderness. You've become so good at being the person everyone else leans on that you've forgotten how to lean on anyone yourself. Notice how your first instinct when you're struggling is to hide it until you've already fixed the problem. Think about the last time you started a new job or joined a new group of friends. Within 3 months, were you the one organizing the group chat, planning the birthday cards, and staying late to fix a mess you didn't even make? This is why you feel so much resentment in your romantic relationships. You often find yourself picking partners who feel like projects, people who have potential but need a little bit of your magic management to get their lives together. You fall into the role of the manager because it's the only way you know how to be intimate. But eventually you stop feeling like a partner and start feeling like a tired mother to a grown adult. Notice how you react when someone actually tries to help you. Does it feel like a relief, or does it feel like a threat to your autonomy? This childhood pattern is still running in the way you handle your finances, your health, and even your weekends. You feel a deep, gnawing guilt when you do something just for fun that doesn't produce a result. This is why you rest by doing laundry while watching a documentary, because your brain doesn't think you deserve to exist unless you're being productive. You are still that little girl trying to earn her keep at the dinner table. There is a dark side to being the strong one that we rarely talk about. This trait becomes a problem when your identity is so wrapped up in being the savior that you actually prevent the people around you from growing. By overfunctioning for everyone else, you're inadvertently teaching them that they don't have to show up. You are burning yourself at both ends to keep everyone else warm, and eventually there will be nothing left but ash. The line between being supportive and being a martyr is thinner than you think. You have to ask yourself, am I helping them, or am I just trying to soothe my own fear of chaos? You were never meant to be the pillar that holds up the entire house. You were meant to be a child living inside it. That weight you feel in your shoulders isn't just stress. It's the decades of emotional cargo you've been carrying for people who were supposed to carry you. It is okay to be difficult. It is okay to be the one who doesn't have the answer. You don't have to be a project manager to be worthy of a seat at the table. What is one small thing you can stop managing this week just to see what happens when you let go? Tell me about the hardest part of letting someone else hold the picture in the comments. Next, we need to talk about why you're so terrified of making a mistake and how your perfectionism is actually a trauma response in disguise.